Hello Team FD and welcome back to Winners and Losers, the show where we look at the highs and the lows from the weekend just passed in the world of Premier League football. And joining me on today's show we have not one but two guests. It's Joseph Tomlinson and Zach Gelab. How are your weekends, guys? Starting with you, Joe. You've got the sniffles, mate. You picked up a cold.
I do have a bit of a cold. I made a huge mistake of over-celebrating the Ronaldo goals at Manchester United by going out and getting rather drunk on Saturday night, running up and down Brixton High Street, shouting "Sue!" So if you saw me on Brixton High Street in a drunken state doing the Ronaldo celebration at about 1 a.m, I apologise.
Yeah, if anyone has got footage of that, if that was captured by a member of the public, we'd love
Don't
you to send that
don't.
in. That would be superb. Zachary, what about you, mate?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. Currently trying to figure out who's let the dogs outside, but yeah, not too bad. How are you?
Who's let the dogs out?
Okay, well, enough of that. Let's see who is our winners, losers, and talking points. Starting with the latter. Right, we're going to talk about Leeds and Liverpool. That was, of course, the late kickoff yesterday at 4:30. And it was sort of overshadowed, wasn't it, the whole result, 3-0 to Liverpool, by the injury that Harvey Elliott endured. Now, he was absolutely superb last season. We are huge fans of him on the channel. 41 championship appearances at age 17, 31 of them being starts, 18 goals and assists, an average well over 2 key passes per night. A truly impressive debut campaign. And before he came off in this game, 3 shots, 1 chance created, 1 dribbled. Really made an impression at the start of this season, hasn't he? Joe, so a couple of questions. Have we got any updates, injury updates on him this morning? I know you've, gone through Twitter, and surfaced a little bit of an update. And 2, what do you make of the complexion of Liverpool's midfield without him?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, it looks like it might not be a break, which is both good and bad news. It looks like it's a dislocated ankle, which is just, horrendously painful, I'm sure. And I'm sure with a dislocated ankle that's going to require surgery, is expected to go under the knife tomorrow, I think, then it's likely there's going to be quite substantial ligament and tendon damage in there as well. So we do expect him to be out for a fair few months, but at least it's not, a double leg break or a compound fracture where the bone's coming through the skin or something like that. So trying to take the positives for Harvey Elliott, because like you said, started the season really well in a position that we weren't expecting Harvey Elliott to play, and that is in that central midfield 3, really, isn't it? It's being slightly more progressive, yes, but we saw him very much as one of the backup forwards, I would suggest, whereas Klopp has kind of redefined that role into a little bit more of a midfielder. Am I worried about Liverpool's midfield options? Not massively, to be honest with you. I think Liverpool will start the season absolutely brilliantly. I think they've probably been the best team in the league so far that I've seen. I think they've already taken 100 shots from their first 4 games. They're averaging 25 shots a match at the moment. Not too bad, is it, for a team that we aren't convinced are going to just smash out a league title like they have in the past and smash out 95 points. I do think they'll be up and around that 90-point mark yet again, though. Thought Fabinho was excellent. I thought Thiago was excellent at the weekend. They've still got Naby Keita to come in, Curtis Jones to come back. Jimmy Milner's still at the club. So I think they're going to be fine for a few months, to be honest with you. It's not as if it's a Mo Salah injury, which, no offence to Harvey Elliott, I think he's an incredible prospect. He's not as important to the team as somebody like Mo Salah. So personally, I think they'll be absolutely fine, but I wish Harvey Elliott well.
Yeah, like you said, on the right-hand side of that 4-3-3, he was extremely probing in build-up, wasn't he? And has been all season. And Liverpool will miss that sort of relationship that him and Mo Salah were forming. I think he's sort of brilliant coming inside as well and stitching up play in the final third. So I think that part of his game will be missed because his replacement's not really that profile of player, right? And, Thiago is going to have to step up. Only 20 starts last campaign. I think Fabinho, the only player to put up over 20, midfielder, to put up over 20 starts for Liverpool in the 2021 season. So, yeah, Thiago will have to step up. Naby Keita hopefully can sustain, his fitness. And Oxlade-Chamberlain, an okay option from the bench, I guess. Zach, now this was this was Thiago's first start of the season, but a little bit of, not revenge, but do we need to put a bit more respect on his name this season, because people weren't convinced post his arrival from Bayern in the last campaign, were they?
I think he's equally respected in the Premier League. Look, anyone that's doing the whole Thiago was crap and he can't play in the Premier League and all this kind of stuff is basically just trying to look for someone to bite, to be quite honest. Everyone knows how brilliant of a footballer Thiago is. And yesterday kind of showed that. I mean, he did the kind of defensive end of what he needs to do in that Liverpool midfield, whilst also carrying out his kind of his more well-known duty of being a creative passer as well, and finding those the passes that just seem to blow your mind. And he got an assist. He's put 4 tackles in, 2 key passes, most passes on the pitch. Like, he had a fantastic game. And I think last season, like, okay, he didn't set the world alight as maybe some people had expected his transfer to do so, but sometimes with the Premier League, there is a bedding in period, and I kind of feel like, okay, his second season in the Premier League is going to be one to watch, and he's going to be brilliant this year. Look, he is 30, he isn't necessarily getting any younger. However, for what he does, he doesn't necessarily need his pace, and that's the only thing that really goes as you get older. So I think he's going to be brilliant, and is, as Joe kind of mentioned, I don't think he even mentioned Jordan Henderson as well.
Yeah, I did. I forgot Jordan Henderson. Shocking.
So I think, like, as rough as it is to see Harvey Elliott, like, maybe the one thing that they will miss is the fact that Harvey Elliott is a very different kind of player to the ones that were mentioned. Maybe Naby Keita is the most similar out
closest,
of them.
yeah.
But even then, that's quite far. And so what they may miss is, I mean, Curtis Jones isn't too far. So what they may miss is that kind of that element of the game that he brings, as you said, linking up with Mo Salah fantastically well.
Yeah, he's a serial goal and assist threat.
Yeah, exactly. So Curtis Jones could maybe fill into that position, and we'll see. But as for Thiago, I mean, he is really now kind of finding his feet in the Premier League and kind of hushing any of those haters.
Yeah, Henderson did make an appearance, didn't he? 20 starts for him last season as well. So his fitness, not guaranteed either, but let's hope, him, Thiago, Fabinho can form a really solid trio for Jurgen Klopp moving forward, because that would help them in terms of a title bid, wouldn't it? And that's what we want to see. So I'm battling it out with Manchester City and Chelsea, and going toe to toe. I thought Matip was also superb yesterday at stepping out, and yeah, they just really shut down Leeds' transition. I was very surprised, actually, to see Harvey Elliott, and Thiago start, because you kind of expect Leeds to blow away most sides who have I suppose, like a smaller or less physical midfield. You expect them to blow them away in transition, but they slowed down the game when they needed to. Thiago was nipping those little quick transitions in the bud, wasn't he? So a really superb showing from that midfield, and let's hope it continues. And the result actually took Liverpool joint top of the Premier League, but like I said, all the post-match chat was very much about Harvey Elliott, and let's see what Jurgen Klopp had to say.
It is a bad injury. Ankle. How I heard now, it was dislocated. We could put it back. He's now in the hospital. So we have to wait, obviously. He played again an incredible game. He's an incredible player. Now he's out. So do I want such a young boy having this experience that early in his career? No. But now it's the case, and we have to be there, and we will be there. So we will play football without him, but we will wait for him as well, because obviously he's a top player.
Before we move on to our winners section, then, it is only right that we touch upon the serial winner, that is Mo Salah, who joined the Premier League 100 club in yesterday's fixture, and he's done it in just 148 starts, with a further 20 appearances coming as a substitute. Only 4 players have done it quicker. Mental that Alan Shearer did it 124 appearances. Absolutely crazy. Joe, do you think that as he's a right winger, do we still put enough respect on his name as a serial goal scorer?
I think we have to start putting him in the category of the greatest ever Premier League winner. Winger. Sorry, I don't know if I said winner. The greatest ever Premier League winner. Winger. So, I get what is going on with my brain. But yeah, I think he is in the top 3 Premier League wingers of all time. I think he is potentially, by the time he finishes his Liverpool career, going to be the best we've ever seen out on that right-hand side. Personally, I think he's probably going to usurp the likes of, to be honest, in my head, he's already usurped Eden Hazard, probably already usurped Cristiano Ronaldo in terms of his original Manchester United performances. Obviously, Ronaldo had a better out-and-out career, so don't hammer me for that in the comments, but I think in his Premier League time, Salah has been better. I think, you've obviously got the longevity and trophies of a player like Ryan Giggs, but as an individual, Mo Salah, for me right now, is probably the best winger we've ever seen in the Premier League. That's just my opinion.
Zach, does your opinion echo that, or what?
I think he's definitely up there. I'd have to give it more thought and maybe look at like the kind of statistics of goals and assists and all that kind of stuff. The one for me was always Eden Hazard. Again, there's probably a little bit of bias there for sure. But I mean, Mo Salah, like Hazard had like a season or two off, whereas Mo Salah, every year he's been at Liverpool, has been amazing. Even when they've had down periods, he has continued to kind of pull them by the scruff of the neck and keep going there. He's so unique because he's a goal scoring winger, right? Like he's not playing, as you mentioned, he's not playing through the middle like Shearer, Henry. I mean, Henry is sometimes played on the wing, but Aguero, Kane, like these guys are the focal point of the team. And to be honest, yeah, so is Salah and Mane, to be fair. But yeah, no, it's massively impressive, and I do agree. Like he's up there for the conversation. If not number one, then maybe number two.
Well, I think one of the sort of stats from this game that support the argument just making, with him having to sort of share being the focal point, was the fact that Mane had 10 shots and scored with his last effort. He got there in the end.
Yeah, he was trying his best,
and he was unfortunate. A couple of unlucky deflections.
Where would you have him, Hamill? Best winger in the Premier League's history? Him, Ronaldo, Hazard, Giggs, maybe up there. Bex?
Yeah, I think his just ruthlessness, his consistency probably marks him out as the top dog, right? Like Eden Hazard had maybe 1.5 sizable dips in his Chelsea career. I mean, maybe Salah has benefited from having a bit of continuity in terms of Jurgen Klopp always being there, right? But yeah, I mean, who would bet against him scoring another 20 goals this season? And to match Harry Kane sort of toe-to-toe when he's not playing number 9, absolutely superb. Talking of superb, let's move on to our winners, because Manchester United put in a superb performance at Old Trafford against Newcastle, didn't they? Winning 4-1. And Ronaldo's return obviously dominating the conversation, and CR7 did not disappoint, scoring 2 goals. We're only going to come to one man for a breakdown of his performance, Joe. So, what did he bring? Was it just goals, or were you impressed with other elements of his game?
Do you know what? I actually didn't think Man United were that great. I think 4-1 did flatter Manchester United. I was really impressed by Newcastle.
Goalkeeper, Jesus Christ, mate.
Yeah, not great.
I mean, had a stinker, yeah.
It isn't brilliant goalkeeping.
Oh no, it was Freddie Woodman, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was Freddie Woodman. But you know what? I actually thought Newcastle were really well organised. They came out and knew exactly what they wanted to do. Use Almiron and Sam Maximan on the break and threatened on the break. It's a difficult place to come right now, Old Trafford. It's even more difficult when it's Cristiano Ronaldo's return, it's Varane's first Old Trafford start, it's Sancho's first Old Trafford start. There's so many elements of this Manchester United team that can hurt you, that Newcastle did a pretty adequate job. Has to be said. I know that if you look at XG, United obviously battered them, and if you look at the scoreline, United battered them, but I think it was a bit of a flattering result, 4-1.
More of a great result than a great performance then.
Exactly, a much better result and a much better day all round. Really good feeling at Manchester United right now. And what I think United have managed to get with Ronaldo is a real sense of sort of gravity to one player. And you saw that for the Bruno goal really, really well, I think. That the Newcastle backline didn't want to vacate any space in the box for Cristiano Ronaldo. That allowed Bruno 10 yards on the edge of the room, and you just can't give Bruno Fernandes 10 yards on the edge of the box. Obviously, the finish is absolutely outstanding, but the whole impact he's had at the club feels like a huge lift across the board. It really feels like it has made us heavy title contenders. And I have to say now, what United do have against teams that sit back and sit low is they've got so many options. It feels like one of them will have a good enough game to do something magical, whether it's Sancho, whether it's Greenwood, whether it's Rashford, or it's Bruno, or Pogba, or Ronaldo, or Cavani. How do you hold off all 6 of them at one stage throughout the 90 minutes? It's incredibly tough. So I think that is a really interesting little dynamic for United. But there are still problems in that midfield area. I don't think we defended particularly brilliantly, as good as Raphael Varane looked. So United have a lot to work on. But as I said on Sunday Vibes, I think they won't see the full United playing at their best until sort of October, November time. So at the moment, it's just about getting results.
I was really surprised to see Ronaldo as involved as he was, sort of in build-up as well. 45 passes is quite a lot for someone who was...
He was quite deep on the left.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it was he was helping with build-up, wasn't it? Like some of his movement enabled Bruno to go beyond him. It sort of opened up, various channels for Sancho, for Greenwood. So his intelligence on show in this game for sure, and just his ruthlessness as well. I mean, it's going to be sad to see Edison Cavani get less minutes as a result of Ronaldo being at the club, because he was brilliant last campaign. But Ronaldo's killer instincts are tantamount to Cavani's, aren't they? 5 out of 6 shots came inside the box. Ronaldo had the most touches inside the penalty area with 8. He is just that quality of forward as well, isn't he? Zach, Romelu Lukaku scored a brilliant brace this weekend as well. So I just wanted to ask you, who do you think is going to get more? I don't know you should, to let heart rule head here, but Romelu Lukaku or Cristiano Ronaldo this season?
Oh, God. It's a good question, mate. I think it's very 50-50. It could go either way.
No, can't sit on the fence.
Can't
Sit on the fence.
Maybe Romelu, just because he'll play more minutes. Like he'll start more
Romelu.
than I think Ronaldo will. He's going to essentially be on the pitch the entire time. Like he's cut at the moment in that front line, the one guarantee every single time. Whereas I think maybe there'll be games when Ronaldo won't start. But even then, I think it'll be close, whatever happens. It also depends on if he takes penalties. We've yet to have a penalty yet, so it'll be very interesting if he takes the penalties for Chelsea.
Yeah, that is a
point,
very valid point. Rom has 3 in 3, doesn't he? Like you said, I think Chelsea probably a bit more of a set side, or at least a more complete, fluid side at the moment as well. So there's been no shortage of supply for Rom. I said Romelu Lukaku as well on Sky this morning, Joe. What are you saying?
Yeah, I think I would go Romelu Lukaku. I think just because he's more of a focal point for Chelsea, that it feels like everything that's in and around the box is going to happen for Romelu Lukaku, whereas United, I can see Greenwood chipping in with quite a few goals, Bruno chipping in with quite a few goals. When Rashford's back, he's going to want to occupy that box space as well. So I think it might be slightly more evenly distributed. And Lukaku, like Zach said, is going to play every minute of every game, and he's going to be the number 9. So I'll go Romelu Lukaku. Yeah,
Romelu Lukaku's going to play 38 games, isn't he? If you can, Ronaldo, you can see him being rested for the big nights, the big occasions. What do you guys think at home? Let us know in the comments below. In fact, like if you think Ronaldo, and comment if you think Lukaku. Let's get a bit of debate going in the comments section. Either way, I think it's safe to say that Ronaldo enjoyed his return.
You know, I belong to Manchester. I arrived here with 18 years old, and they treat me unbelievable. This is why I come back, because they treat me unbelievable. So I'm so proud to be here, and I want to win.
All right, before we move on to losers then, gentlemen, let's very quickly talk about Pogba's contract situation, because news broke this morning, it was with David Ornstein of The Athletic, that he's considering signing a new deal imminently. And it was quite a generic statement, Joe, saying that, Ronaldo's the impact he's had coming back has made Pogba reconsider his options. But do you think it's sort of like that cut and dry? Do you think Paul Pogba's just going to be like, we've got Ronaldo now, I'm going to sign on the dotted line?
Well, I would be surprised to see Pogba sign that new deal. But, David Ornstein's an extremely reliable reporter, and if he's got an exclusive saying it's likely Paul Pogba stays like he has today in The Athletic, I tend to trust him, to be honest with you. But yeah, what he will be able to see now, Pogba, is superstars at the club, players of his quality playing around him. He started the season personally unbelievable. 7 assists in his opening 4 games. I think that's a record for a Premier League player. He was probably Man United's best player on Saturday, to be honest with you. I know Ronaldo scored 2 goals, but I thought Paul Pogba was the most influential for United. When he gets on the ball in those midfield areas and a team is deep and he just starts to dictate the game, you know you're in trouble. So personally, would love to see him sign that new deal. Still can't see it happening, but I can understand why a player like Ronaldo coming into the club, Sancho, Varane, would make you think twice about leaving, wouldn't it? If you saw those players come in, you might just have in the back of your mind, whoa, hang on, is it the right time to leave this club? Are United now going in the right direction? Are they going to compete for major honours? Because he's got his international teammates in Varane, Martial at the club. He's got Bruno Fernandes there, Ronaldo, who's an absolute superstar. I think he might be tempted. If his options in the market don't sway the way they want to, if he doesn't have Real Madrid as a suitor, if he doesn't have PSG as a suitor, then he might end up staying at United. But I still think he's going to go.
Yeah, what an incredible provider he's been in 2021. The only player in the Premier League to record 10 Premier League assists in the calendar year. Zach, I mean, you'd imagine that Real Madrid, now they've got Camavinga, who scored on his debut at the weekend, that PSG would be the most viable destination? Or do you think that Real Madrid would still go back in for him? Is there going to be a tussle for a signature? Can anyone afford him come January, where he'd be open to signing be able to sign a pre-contract?
I mean, I think Real Madrid's focus at the moment is all on Mbappe. I think he's priority numero uno, and then if there's any money left over, they can maybe then have a look at whether Pogba wants to come over. Apart from that, yeah, PSG is the kind of other destination, and as much as he's saying, okay, he's enjoying the stardom, I mean, the stardom doesn't really get much bigger than it is at PSG at the moment, with Neymar, Mbappe, Messi, Sergio Ramos, Donnarumma, who made his first appearance for the club, even though I think Sergio Ramos is going to be on the injury table the whole time. But still, like, so I could maybe see PSG happening more so than Real Madrid. But I kind of feel like it's what I remember kind of saying this before the season, that like I don't quite understand Pogba's stance unless it's to get more money. That like if you're looking at this United project right now, it's just got to such a point where the whole reason you joined United was you wanted to help it get back to this being this fantastic team, this great team around the world that people were scared of. It's finally got back to that point, and then maybe you're thinking of leaving. So it doesn't surprise me too much if he does sign that new contract. And personally, I think that's probably the right option for his career.
Come on, Paul.
And I'm sure he'll be paid handsomely to do so. Yeah. Right, let's move on to our losers then. Tottenham Hotspur, who were absolutely horrific. The opening 45 minutes of this game was like watching paint dry. It was awful.
Yeah, man.
So their perfect start came crashing down, didn't it, after that 3-0 defeat at Selhurst Park on Saturday. It was the early kickoff. Joe, thoughts on how Tottenham set up? Because as soon as I saw the starting lineup, I thought this is going to be grim.
I mean, dearie me. That was one of the worst performances from a Tottenham Hotspur side I can remember in Premier League history. I think that might be potentially up there with the worst performance I can remember from a Spurs side in Premier League history.
There's got to be worse.
I'm genuinely not sure there is. That was the fewest shots they've had since 2005, mate. Like, I understand there was some dark moments under Jose Mourinho. I think back to the Bournemouth game. I think back to that Brighton game was really poor. But that was up there on the weekend. That was genuinely up there. I mean, that was the first time Harry Kane hasn't had a touch in the opposition box in Premier League history, by the way. The midfield options were just terribly defensive, even from the get-go. Yeah. Højbjerg, Winks, and Skip. Who's driving the team forward? Like, who's progressing the ball in that midfield three? Tanguy and Ndombele can't get a minute in this side. Are we really saying Tanguy and Ndombele cannot be more progressive than those three players? I'm terribly unconvinced about that.
He must be the worst trainer going to avoid getting in that line.
Has to be,
and I understand they've got injury problems. You know, Son is a huge miss for them. They've obviously got the Eric Dyer injury now, which looks really bad, doesn't it? He left the ground on crutches as well, so I'm not sure how long that's going to be. Emerson Royale might be one of the worst debuts I can remember. In a Tottenham shirt.
That's harsh. That's harsh.
I mean, I was listening to Danny Pape's podcast today. He's a resident Tottenham fan at Football Daily. He said it was the worst debut in Tottenham Hotspur history, which I think, it was so bad. Obviously, he's up against probably the most frightening one-on-one winger in the Premier League in Wilfried Zaha, but it was just continual battering down his side. He didn't once progress the ball past the halfway line. He was awful defensively in transition. He got beaten all ends up by Wilfried Zaha continuously. The positioning for one of the Odsonne Edouard goals is shameful to be on the outside of him. I think it's the Palace third one when he's on the wrong side of him totally. Just so bad. But you know what? It was reminiscent of an entire Spurs performance that was absolutely shambolic. From the Jaffet Tanganga red card to the midfield performance, to Harry Kane not getting on the ball. It was just a total write-off. And they got Chelsea on the weekend. They don't get the South American lads back until Friday night from the quarantine. So I'm not sure how Lo Celso or Romero are going to be able to play against Chelsea. What, with 1 day in between. I think it's an incredibly tough ask. Eric Dyer's obviously still going to be out. Son's still going to be a doubt. I mean, I'm not to go full like Paul Merson to be like a worry for Tottenham, but I think this is a big bump in the road for Nuno. He's already used 20 players this season with 4 games in. He used 21 players last season in the whole campaign for Wolves. So I think it's a tough week.
Yeah, I mean, they were fortunate to be in the position they were prior to the game as well. I don't think they necessarily deserved 9 points from their opening 3 games, and expected goals does reflect that. And their expected goals in this game was absolutely shambolic. Just to kind of finish off what the point Joe was making, it was 0.08 to Palace's 2.89, which is unsurprising given they only managed 2 efforts to Crystal Palace's 18. And of course, a flurry of shots came at the end of the match when Palace had the numerical advantage. But I thought Lucas Moura was the only Spurs player to leave the pitch with any sort of dignity. His reputation was firmly intact. I think he completed 3 dribbles. He had a couple shots. Like, he lit up various stages of the opening 45, which are dull by both sides, by the way. But then, Conor Gallagher grew into the game. Crystal Palace started to step up in the first 15-20 minutes of the second half. They were well on top, even before Tanganga's red card. So, Zach, what did you like about their performance? And maybe let's limit it to that second half.
Yeah, I thought it was smart. I really did. I thought it was... Zaha knows what he's doing. Like, he knows, I'm going to try and rile up Tanganga here. He knows that, okay, he's going to kind of come in for me again and try and get him on a booking, etc. And so once he was sent off, I thought Palace played it perfectly. Conor Gallagher, brilliant. He's really starting to show everyone and Chelsea that maybe how good he is, and that he is a solid Premier League level. He's probably the shining light in that Palace game. I mean, I think that makes me sound like they were bad, but they weren't at all. Conor Gallagher, fantastic. Zaha just kind of done what Wilfried Zaha does every single game. We know it. Like, he's probably the toughest winger to defend against, and for Emerson Royale, who's making his Premier League debut, welcome to the Premier League, because that is going to be the hardest game he's had in his career so far.
When he's not getting his way, Zaha, like he can be sort of managed out of the game. But when he smells blood, I think he is like the toughest winger to face up against.
Exactly,
and potentially Mane as well.
And I was kind of confused why Spurs were like, it was so obvious from the first kind of 15 minutes that Emerson Royale was getting a tough game. I didn't understand.
Him some help. Jesus Christ.
None of the Spurs boys kind of came over, tried to help him out, and at least have a man behind it.
Tanganga didn't get sent off, mate.
Yeah, I guess so. You're not wrong. But Conor Gallagher and Zaha were brilliant. And this is also a Palace side as well that had Elise on the bench. Will Hughes was on the bench. It's still not their starting lineup. I thought defensively they were really, really good. Mitchell at fullback was brilliant. Guehi and Anderson were fantastic at the back, and so I'm really impressed. I thought on Sunday Vibes we spoke about Palace for a bit. I think when I was reading the comments, people I think were saying that we kind of didn't rank them high enough. Or personally, I think we kind of said they have all the tools to be a great team. We just don't know what the manager's like. And so far after that Spurs game, he's obviously doing something right. It has to be said. Obviously, Spurs were 10 men. Had 10 men, so they're going to be at the disadvantage. And maybe if it was the second half, if they had full 11, it could have been a different game. And then Odsonne Edouard came on for 4 minutes and scored 2 goals. Brilliant. He was really impressive. I
think it was the quickest debut goal in Premier League history. It's 20 seconds.
Wouldn't surprise me. It was on this. Yeah, and they were taken really, really well as well. The one specifically in my head, it might have been his second, or maybe I can't remember which one it was.
The first with the left foot finishing to the bottom right corner, yeah.
I was thinking of the one where Royale is behind him, and just fantastic striker play. And to be honest, throughout that whole night, through the 84 minutes that Benteke was on the pitch, I didn't really notice him. And so the second Edouard comes on and he's doing this, it is an upgrade.
Yeah, I thought it was just he's a different sort of striker.
Yes,
and Benteke, bless him, for 84 minutes, really helped out his midfield. When Palace went direct, he was winning headers. He was Palace clearly were let's hit Tottenham on either wing because don't rate either fullback or defensively speaking, maybe, and that's where they're best, right? But then, yeah, Benteke, he comes off. He's not very happy about being brought off, and then you just see Edouard's movement inside the box, and he's just a very different sort of player. And I think he gives Palace, that option, like someone that's gonna. So it's going to be a little bit more decisive, maybe from 18 yards out. And it was nice to see that final goal sort of come about as through build-up play for that triumvirate of Elise, Gallagher, and Edouard. All of a sudden, it was like looking into the future of Crystal Palace, right? And you were like, okay, maybe we can see a bit of a vision coming together. But yeah, that's. Crystal Palace did really, really well. Let's move on to a moment of the week then to round out the show. I have picked this one, as you know, bit of a cat man. And this has been one of the better uses of the American flag in recent years. Don't know if you saw it. Sky Sports put out the clip on Twitter. A cat is hanging from the top of a stadium, like nuts. Tom Cruise in a Mission Impossible film. And then a bunch of lads use like the American flag to break the cat's fall. It survives. It's absolutely fine. But then they just start hoisting the cat up like the World Cup, man.
Yeah. It looked like out the Lion King.
The cat does not know where he is, what is going on. But ultimately, it's good. It's good. Didn't even have to use one of his 9 lives. I thought it was an incredible clip. Have you got anything else, boys? Even if it's a moment of the week, even if it's a plug, like Joe, what are you saying to round off at the end of the show?
I'll be tempted to say last minute Brighton winner. You know, we all love Brighton, don't we? At the moment, Hamill, you more than most over the last sort of 18 months, and it's just nice to see them. You know, they overperformed the expected goals. Sorry, against Brentford. I think Brentford probably had the better of the 90 minutes, but a little bit of brilliance from McAllister and Trossard to win them the game in the last dying embers is a nice sight. I think it's good for Brighton to be up there and around that top 4 spot.
Yeah, proper Trossard finish as well. He tries that shot at least 3 times a game, I think, when he's starting. Zach?
I can't think of anything to be quite honest, so I'll just plug Snapchat. Come over there, type in Football Daily. We give you guys daily stories on Snapchat.
Cool. Like this video, subscribe to the channel with notifications on, and we'll catch you in next week's Winners and Losers. Bye.